And this is what I mean when I say the government, they lie. They monkey with the data. They figure out the data that best serves them. You can go to the U.S. Federal Reserve, specifically to the Fed website, and you can see that the U.S. national debt has grown to $34 trillion. So one thing that you can do is if you keep inflation higher for longer, that $34 trillion is not as expensive because you're eroding the purchasing power of the dollar by keeping inflation higher for longer, and thus making that $34 trillion less impactful. Okay, switch total gears now. Now I want to go to the opposite side of the equation and talk about, and you guys can go check this website out, please do. So know that we're always going to try to give you both sides of an argument so you can go check for yourselves, because this is what our listeners do. They're informed, they're smart people. So you can go to shadowstats.com. And this is what I mean when I say the government, they lie. They figure out the data that best serves them. So if you go look at inflation data, how it was reported in the 1980s and the 1990s, you can see as inflation's come down here in the US, if we look at the 1980s alternative, you would see that inflation is still sitting around 12%. If you look at the 1990s alternative, you would see that inflation is sitting at just below 7%. So what they've done over time is our government has changed how inflation was calculated and reported to make these adjustments so inflation looks lower. Why?
So that they don't get blamed for the problem, or that they are doing a better job than they really are?
So they're doing a better job than they really are. So these politicians get reelected so that we can offload our debt to other people at a discounted rate.
Other people being Americans?
I should say other countries.
Everyone that uses the dollar, right?
Everyone that uses the dollar. But we export that debt via the dollar and our bonds to other countries. And then lastly, so they wouldn't have to pay higher wages for people who are in retirement, that are government workers, and on Social Security, because the COLA, the cost of living adjustments, are tied into the CPIs. So they said 1980, that looks too high. Let's recalculate that. 1990, oh, let's recalculate that. And then a couple weeks ago, the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out and said, you know what? We're going to change a variable in the way we report this data. And we're not going to really explain it to you, but just know we did it. And so they changed something, but they hasn't fully disclosed it. Okay, number 3, let's now flip this coin over again. So now we're like a 3-sided coin. We're on the other side of the pyramid. Let's go look at the opposite argument, that inflation has actually plummeted and that the true rate of inflation is less than what the government is reporting to us right now. And the reason they're reporting a higher number so they can keep rates higher for longer. Okay, so you can find this on trueflation.com. Trueflation.com is a groundbreaking protocol making powerful financial data transparent, accessible, and censorship resistant. So this is one of those tokenized things. This is beautiful. So as of 3/13/2024, they said the daily trueflation rate, so the daily rate of inflation, is 1.65. When our government just reported it as 3.1 month over month and 3.2. Their method of measuring it, so remember, the government uses lagging data and they box it all together. This is real-time data looking at it. They're saying it's 1.65. So this is why I said, well, maybe the government is lying to you to keep it higher for longer, to serve their agenda.